Oh, hey people. So, I got a question the other day that I think is a great question, but a very difficult question. If you notice, the quality of my videos sucks at the moment. Um, I'm back on my old phone because the new phone I had decided to crap out on me. So I'm going to be buying a new phone tomorrow. So hopefully the next video will actually be quality. And since I started up my other channel, I want to have a better quality video. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, the question was, and I'm if I don't get it exactly right, forgive me. But if subspace is a desirable state of being, then wouldn't it be good to keep somebody in that state? Try to move the microphone here. Okay. This is an ultra complicated question because you're dealing with a ton of factors here. Getting somebody into subspace is difficult. Not everybody can do it. And when they do it, everybody who does it has a different way of doing it. Their mind works in its own individual way. Some just get a state of euphoria. Some go into a alternate plane of reality in their mind. Some, it just knocks them unconscious. And there's thousands of different variations of that beyond that. Every person who does get into subspace gets into it in their own way. But how you get somebody into subspace, that's also very difficult, because there's, again, thousands of ways to get somebody into subspace. Flogging, caning, beating, blah 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 blah. There's people who get into subspace in rope. There's people who get into subspace through orgasms. There's people who get into subspace from this and that and this and that and this and that. There's a million ways to do it. So you're already at multiple factors. Factor upon factor upon factor just to get into subspace. In a previous video, I brought up the concept that once somebody is in subspace, they're no longer conscious. They're no longer able to consent. They are not here. At this point, their mind is being flooded with endorphins, and they're not, they're here, but not here. Okay, this is not able to understand what's happening in the universe outside of this. It pushes itself inward as a protective mode. Okay, keep that in mind. What we're dealing with when we're dealing with subspace is a high form of evolutionary protection. Back in the old days and on the savannah, hunting and killing and all this other stuff, and we're having to, run for our lives to protect ourselves from animals and so on and so on. Our brains created this thing that said, okay, if you're running hard enough, or you're in a fight or in something, here's something to help get you so that you can get safe. That is what made those people being able to survive and being able to be our ancestors. What we do is take that, the knowledge of the way the mind works and push it to an extent that we are forcing the brain to do things it's not meant to do. Okay? getting into subspace is not something the brain is meant to do. It's there as a defense mechanism, not as a normal way of doing things. Runners, and I've stated this 100 times, runners who are hardcore marathon runners and long distance runners, they you can look this up and just look to put in the term runner's high. This is where you push your body to such a state where the endorphins kick in and allow your body to continue to go. When you're doing it in BDSM play, your body's not moving. It's stationary. And so it has to take everything internally, and it does something different than a runner's high. It's the same mechanism, just done different ways. Here's the thing. To keep somebody in that state, you have to continue whatever you were doing to get them in that state in the first place. This is where we run into an issue. There's two forms of ways of doing things in this lifestyle. Safe, sane, and consensual, or SSC, or RAK, risk aware kink. Thing is, under SSC, if somebody gets into subspace, play's over. Play is over. Because you've acknowledged, you're saying that I'm willing to do whatever it is until I am no longer able to consent. Once you get to subspace, you are no longer able to consent. Therefore, under SSC, you cannot continue to be played with. It is the responsibility of the dominant to then be in charge of your body to make sure that you are safe. Under RAK, this is not necessarily true. Under RAK, you gave consent at the beginning of the scene, and whatever happens in that scene, you've agreed to. You've agreed that this might be the way, that they, even once you hit subspace, they're going to continue to beat you. But the thing about it is that for that to exist, you have to talk to, have very long conversations or have made these agreements way in advance so that when you do it, you are aware that there could be a point where you are unconscious and a person is using you. I do hypnosis. I do hypnosis, and I know that within hypnosis, when I have somebody under hypnosis, they have consented to be under hypnosis, and I have explained to them, broadly what it is I'm going to do, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I kind of just run with whatever happens to feel good at the moment. So I might do something that, if they were conscious of what was happening, they may not agree to, they may not consent to, but under the RAK system, because I have acknowledged I might do things you may not like, and they have agreed to it, I'm totally fine. If I was to do something like that under SSC, I could seriously cross lines and do things that they don't want to do and get myself in trouble. Okay? Now, with all of that being said, to the actual question, I'm already 9 minutes into this video, and I'm finally getting to the question. I don't think that it is a good thing to try to continue to keep somebody in that state, because the thing about it is that when they're in that state, they lose all concept of time. Okay? You're already pushing the brain into doing something, and if you push too much, you could seriously potentially do damage, because you're having to push the brain to produce more and more and more and more and more and more endorphins. this could potentially be a bad thing, because you got to keep in mind, once you actually stop, depending on the person, it could take them a minute to get out of subspace. It could take them an hour to get out of subspace. And then you're continuing. So if you got somebody that takes an hour to get out of subspace when you just normally stop when they get into it, and you keep pushing, they could be gone for hours. And that then starts to become dangerous. This is where knowing the person you play with, both the top knowing the bottom and the bottom knowing the top, knowing and having discussions is vital. This is not something I can say, yes, do, don't do. No, it's what is right for you and the person you are playing with. If the person you are playing with can handle that level of subspace and that torture that you're doing to their body, because let's just be very blunt, all of those things on the wall, okay, all of those toys that I've got over there are torture devices. Okay, that's what they were originally designed to do. Paddles were not designed for play. Crops were not originally designed to be for play. Okay, whips were not designed for play. Floggers, so on and so on and so on and so on. These were not designed for play. They were designed to hurt people. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually, once they have left their brain and they're not able to stop a scene, you could do serious damage to them. This is where you have to be careful. You have to be conscious of what you are doing and why you are doing it. This is not simple. Said, this is ultra complicated. You have to know the person who you are and the person they are. If you don't know those two things, if you don't know the top knows what their limits are and the bottom knows what their limits are, and you push past those limits, you are now entering very dangerous territory. That's not to say that playing in that area isn't fun and amazing sometimes, but it's dangerous. And yes, we play with danger. What we do is dangerous, but it can be rewarding at the same time. So, 13 minutes to get that out. Yeah. So, like I said, if you want to do it, go for it, but know what you're doing. You know, the top knows who they are, the bottom knows who they are. And if you do that and you push it, potentially even have a third person as a spotter who can stop the top or be aware of what's happening to the bottom. There's types of scenes that I've done where I needed a spotter. The blindfolded flogging that I'm working on, I'm gonna need a spotter because I'm not able to be, I'm not full. All my senses are not going to be available. Don't be afraid to bring in a spotter. Okay, it won't ruin the scene, but take care. Do this carefully. Okay, so I need to go and get ready. I'm going out with my pet for some pizza and fireworks and possibly play later. See what happens. That's it for now. Be well and safe.